Okay, so you did it. You made it through the first week at your new job. You're juggling new faces, new systems, and then you get that email, create a video about your first week. And for a lot of people, that just feels like homework. But what if it's actually an incredible opportunity? Let's dive into how you can turn that simple prompt into a really powerful story about you.
Look, forget the to-do list for just a second. This, right here, this is the entire assignment. This question isn't about listing off everything you did, it's about the emotional journey you just went on. It's the core of the story that they really want to hear.
So that's the real question, isn't it? How do you connect the dots between setting up your email and that moment of feeling totally overwhelmed? Or that moment you finally felt like, okay, I belong here. Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to build a simple blueprint to make your story clear, concise, and honestly, pretty compelling.
Every good story has to start by setting the scene. So before we get into all the feelings, we need the facts. Let's break down the basic pieces of the prompt into the simple building blocks of our narrative.
First up, orientation. Think of this as the opening scene of your movie. It's the official start, right? It's where you get the lay of the land, the company's mission, the key players, the rules of this whole new world you've just stepped into. Next, you meet the cast, your team. And these aren't just names on some org chart. They are the key characters in your story. These are the people who are going to guide you, challenge you, and ultimately, they're the ones who will shape your experience. And then there's all the nitty-gritty. Setting up your systems, your laptop, your logins, all that software. I know it can feel a little tedious, but in our story, this is you gathering your equipment. You're getting the tools you need for the journey ahead.
Okay, so we've got our setting and our characters. But here's the thing, a list of events isn't a story. Not really. The magic, the part that makes people lean in, happens when we shift from the what happened to the how it felt. This is where your story finds its heartbeat.
This is where we pinpoint the emotional highs and lows. So on one side, you have the welcome moments. Maybe a teammate grabbed you for coffee, or someone patiently walks you through a confusing process for the third time. And then on the other side, you have the lost moments, feeling totally invisible on a video call, or just not knowing who to even ask for help. The contrast between these two, that's what creates tension and makes your story so relatable.
This journey from feeling lost to feeling welcome, that's actually a classic storytelling tool. It's called the narrative arc. It sounds fancy, but it's not as complicated as it sounds. It's simply the journey from a problem to a solution, and that transformation is exactly what your new team is so interested in seeing.
All right, we have our facts, and we've identified our feelings. Now it's time to put it all together. We are going to lay out a super simple 4-step structure to build your whole narrative. Okay, let's walk through this blueprint. First, the setup. Just briefly describe your first day, the orientation stuff, set the stage. Second, the challenge. Be specific here. Don't just say it was confusing. No. Say, I spent a whole hour trying to figure out the server permissions. That is so relatable. Third, the breakthrough. This is your turning point. Describe that specific welcome moment that changed things. Then, Sarah from marketing saw I was stuck and showed me this one shortcut. Finally, the lesson. Connect the dots. How did you adapt because of this? What did you actually learn? This shows growth, and it wraps up your story with a really powerful conclusion.
So you follow the blueprint, you make an amazing video, you check that task off your list. Great. But this little exercise, it's so much more than just an onboarding task. Taking a moment to actually structure this story has real value both for you and for the company.
For starters, this reflection just builds your own self-awareness. But it's also incredibly valuable feedback for the company. Your specific story about what worked and what didn't can directly improve the onboarding process for the next person. And maybe most importantly, it helps you turn a potentially chaotic week into a really meaningful milestone in your career journey.
Ultimately, by taking the time to find the narrative in your first week, you're practicing a critical skill, finding meaning and structure in your own professional journey. The first week is just chapter 1. You're the author of your career story. The only question left is, what story will you write next?